Hello everyone and welcome back to Sudden Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. So quick update on my side. I wanted to share something with you a little bit outside of the market. I've been trying to do this 24-hour fasting. So basically I eat once a day for lunch. That's it. I don't eat anything else. And yeah, the first couple of days are a bit tough, particularly towards the end of the day. But nowadays I don't even feel hungry anymore. I'm burning a ton of fat and I've been super focused, particularly when I'm hungry, the more focused I get. Now, I'm not making any kind of recommendations to anyone. I'm just curious if you guys also have tried something similar, and if you experienced something similar, you guys let me know. So today I wanted to discuss two things. One is what I believe the US is planning on doing, and number two, some movements in the crypto market that I think are very, very relevant and are happening. They've been happening over the first quarter. Nobody paid attention because prices were down. We know how it is. People pay attention when the prices go up, but they fail to realize that the fundamentals are actually happening when the prices are down. Fundamentals, price, narrative. We know it. We've been talking about this in the channel forever. So first on what I think the US is trying to do. Now, am I saying they achieved it? Am I saying they are going to achieve it? No. I'm just going to give you the take of the long-term strategy of what I think they are trying to do. You guys are free to comment and tell me, hey, you're completely wrong, you're a buffoon, or actually, I agree with you, I think it makes a lot of sense. First of all, I would like to point out something funny, which is now starting to be reported that the trade deal with the European Union will include forcing the Europeans to buy energy from the US and also weapons to basically rebuild their militaries. So these were the news that I saw. Yeah, that's very nice. It's just a shame that it came 3 weeks after we discussed this in the channel here. This is the funny part. And I do YouTube as a hobby. It was so clear to me because it's very simple. If you look even 2024, how much European Union imports from Russia, it becomes very clear that you cannot trust the leaders of Europe to not fund the Russians. So you have to do it by force. You have to put something in the agreement that they will need to buy more power, more energy, oil, gas, LNG, whatever, from the US. And basically force them to take a little bit higher prices, but at least lose the entire dependence on the cheap energy prices coming from their region. So, I mean, just a complete side note, but it's just funny that we were talking about this here in the channel 3 weeks ago, and now it's starting to be reported as breaking news. Breaking? To whom? Not to us. Isn't it funny that I say, hey, next week I'm going to sign the first trade deal, and then the UK and the US sign a deal? Can you imagine if I did journalism full time? My God, it'd be like the prophet. I mean, it's crazy. So this is what I think the plan is. So I don't know if you know about this, but in the calculations of GDP, imports are accounted as a negative. So basically they pull GDP down. So perfect example, the first quarter of 2025, GDP in the US went down 0.3%. And then you go and check what happened, and it's this massive surge of imports to basically front-run the tariffs, which makes perfect sense. So the trade deficit, which means the US imports more than what it exports, the trade deficit of the US in goods is about $1.2 trillion now. So 1.2 trillion, that means that figure punishes the GDP every single year. I think on one side, the idea is this. If the US, with the trade deals, manages to cut that deficit in half, let's say going from 1.2 trillion to $600 billion. That is, in 10 years, $6 trillion. How much is $6 trillion versus the US economy at the moment? Is about 20%. So that means that if the US manages to cut the trade deficit in half with the trade deals, you just added 2% per year, or 2% on the US GDP. 2%. The US already grows at 2.5% without this part. Sorry. Plus, with the tax cut and the deregulation bill, I think the idea here is that by next year, the US is to grow 4 to 5%. Where does this number come from? The 2.5-3% that the US usually grows, plus 2% of the trade deficit, you get at least 4 to 5%. And then you're going to compare to the other economies of the developed world. Germany is flat or in contraction. Eurozone grows 1.5% a year max. Japan grows 1% if they're lucky. South Korea grows 1% if they're lucky. And then you have a developed country growing at 4 or 5%. That's an easy pitch for the midterms, and it's an easy pitch for 2028. 2028 is key because it's when the party will need to move from Trump into something else. And here is going to be very risky because either you're going to follow the same values or you're going to go back to a party system in which both of them are very similar in nature, but they just, one likes a little bit more tax, the other one likes a little bit less tax, whatever. But at the end of the day, at the core, they are the same. So that's going to be very key, the 2028 election. Because by 2030, and this is something that we've discussed here, but nobody's paying attention, by 2030, new census will be done in the US. Because Democrat-run states have been doing so poorly, California, New York, Rhode Island, Illinois, Oregon will lose college votes. So when you look at the election, see, California has 50 plus votes. They will lose 3 or 4. I don't know by heart. I know that all in all, these states will lose 10 votes. And where will those votes go, you ask? Texas, Florida, Idaho, Montana. Super red states. That means that by 2032, the Republican candidate will have a free Wisconsin just on the resizing of the population. And also, all these investments in AI have the potential to completely explode the GDP. When I say explode, I'm talking tripling it in 6 years. So this is the big opportunity that the US has, or that the Republicans have, or whatever. They have the opportunity here to jump ahead all the other countries and ensure America's number one for the next 50 years. It's now. If the Republicans lose the midterms, Trump's going to get impeached again. We're going to start again with the same, with the same show of impeachment. They're already talking about impeachment. For what? I don't know. Impeach. Okay, but for what? I don't know. So this is going to be the key. Now, is it going to work? I don't know. That's what we are here to see. So far, everything, a lot of things have worked already. But now, everything will depend on the upcoming deals. This is how I see it, the vision for the US, even in the short term. If you do manage to solve the trade deficit, and you manage to keep your GDP at 2.5 to 3% as they usually are, plus you add that 2% from the trade deficit, you're growing at 4.5, 5%. You're done. You're a hero. You can go and and there's nothing you can say against it. And that's the key opportunity. Will it happen? We have to wait and see. I don't know. I think this is the plan. This is how I see it, because everything is very focused on growth. And I do see particular focuses on two things. AI and all the rare earth metals and minerals that you hear about. A lot of it also goes to AI, not just to defense, and to electronics, etc., and crypto as well. Also, the amount of investments in the US, those will pay off, particularly during whoever is in power in 2028, 2029, 2030. They will be benefiting a lot from all those projects. So that's going to be key. But there's a reason, if you haven't paid any attention, that Trump's about to go to the Middle East again. Saudi, UAE, etc. Now, as you guys know, the only thing that really concerns me is about Iran. I think that, and of course, India and Pakistan, if those things go out of control. But those things seem to be, we've seen in the past, they kind of fight, then they stop, then they go into periods of peace, and then they fight, and then they stop, and then they go. It's kind of recurring. With Iran is different. So I do really hope that we can get a deal quick in that region. It would be very, very important, in my view. And the reason why I feel it can be a black swan is because nobody looks at it as a black swan. See, I told you it's not going to be the tariffs, because everybody's focused on it. So everybody's seen it. Everybody is panicked about it. No. It has to come and blindside you when you're not expecting. That's the true black swans, is when they come and bite you without you expecting. Now, when it comes to crypto, Ethereum has topped $2,500. I think now it's a little bit below it. Bitcoin stands still at 103,000. That's good. Ethereum has moved from 1,750 to 2,500, like that. And this is what we've been talking about here in the channel, is when it moves really fast. And by the time you pay attention, you'll be kind of, what the F happened? And you don't understand what happened. Ethereum has done this many times in the past. Gets proclaimed to be finished, kind of seems that it's doing nothing, then boom, pumps 150% and nobody understands what happened, and then everybody gets left behind. This has happened many, many times in the past. The Pectra upgrade seems to have worked very, very well. From what I've seen, Ethereum is now deflationary once again, or at least has periods of deflation quite more often. The focus is L1, and drop the L2s. You see what happens when you focus on the L1 and not in the L2s? We've been talking about this for a long time in this channel. Also, other things that we've been saying, at $3,000, there's $3 billion of shorts on Ethereum. I've been saying this for weeks. I've seen now one or two channels talking about it. Not too many people have paid attention. But basically, we have these massive shorts at $3,000. $3 billion. How much is $3 billion, you ask? It's 2 Bybit hacks. But on the other side, buying pressure. So think about it. This was always my point. Ethereum can move much faster than you think, just on the short covering itself. Forget about the FOMO. The FOMO will come, but forget about it, just on the short covering. Now, very importantly, Blackrock went and met with the crypto task force and the SEC again to discuss, amongst others, ETF standards, adding staking to ETFs, real world assets, and very importantly, what we've been talking here for weeks or months, tokenization of securities and bonds. Once BlackRock applies for something, I assume it's approved, because that approval rating is 99.8% or something. If they go for something, they will get it approved. I think tokenization will be the key. And I think they will do it on Ethereum because it's safer, it's much more battle tested, they already have a lot of it, it's widely known amongst the industry already and with the institutional investors, and it doesn't go down like Solana every month or every 2 months. That's my feeling. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're gonna have a bunch of different avenues. Maybe Ethereum is for the big players and Solana will have medium to small companies. Or maybe some companies that have more trouble raising funding on Ethereum may be able to go to Sui or Solana. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be. I think tokenization is coming, and it's coming quicker than people think. By the way, there's still a possibility Bitcoin sells off into 91, 92K, and then we go up from there. By the way, Ethereum has had an explosive move. Its pullbacks will be in the game. So I'm not saying that it's going to be green forever, every single day. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, pullbacks are in the game. They can happen. But what I'm saying is, in my view, it will be more up than down. And I have to say something, because I also said this in the past. In the past, I said, one day we will be at 90K and people will think that's bearish. Bitcoin was 60K when I said that. Then I said, one day 100K will be bearish for Bitcoin. Bitcoin was 75K. And when we went from 109 to 100, 100 felt really bearish. And one day, Bitcoin going to 150K will be bearish. I hope it's clear what I'm trying to say. There's going to be a time where Bitcoin 150K will be a bearish call. And eventually in the future, Bitcoin going to 250K will be bearish as well. I hope it's clear. By the way, we started to see something that is crucial for Bitcoin 250K. So as I've said, since 2023, I'll repeat it again. I always said, I think by the end of this cycle, Bitcoin will be somewhere between 242,000 and 276,000. And I also said, in order for us to get there, the consensus price needs to be 500 to a million. Because people will need to buy at 200K thinking that it's still very cheap. The only way they do it is if they imagine that $1 million Bitcoin is around the corner. That's how you get there. And now we had CZ from Binance saying that this cycle, Bitcoin will go to 500 to a million. Exactly. This is the type of things you need. Eventually, we will need the founder of Cardano saying the same thing. And the guy of Coinbase saying the same thing. And Larry Fink saying, as he said before, 700K. And Kevin O'Leary predicting 1 million. And etc., etc., etc. You need the consensus trade to be 500,000 to 1 million, so you can have buyers at 200K. But I also want to flag this out. Can Bitcoin go above the price targets that I set? Of course. If governments say, I'm going to buy Bitcoin, I don't care what price it is, and I'm going to buy 10,000 Bitcoin a day, I don't care. It can be $1 billion a coin. I will buy it anyways. Yes, then anything is possible. Of course. But if that happens, that means that even my 20% or 25% stash that I have left on crypto is going up tenfold a week. So, okay, fine by me. The question is, what if they don't do it? What if at some point they say, I think we have enough, it's too hot, let's wait. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget, drop that like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel, and I do really appreciate your support. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Click like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.